This is Ian Morris from Light Reading. I'm here at Mobile World Congress 2017 and I'm joined by Phil Sorsky from CommScope. Phil, thanks for joining me today. Time of great upheaval in the industry, obviously. I wonder if you could start perhaps and just tell me a little bit about how CommScope is helping network operators to meet the sort of demands that we're seeing emerging on tomorrow's networks.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess we're seeing a lot more in the way of densification. I'd say broadly densification, optimization, virtualization, but especially from a densification point of view, where we feel we're helping is both on the macro outdoor side. We've got some great solutions in terms of being able to acquire new sites in a more real estate efficient context, and also being able to update macro antennas using the same kind of real estate as you were in the past. So very narrow footprint antennas, but with far more in the way of frequencies and ranges, everything from 600 up to 2600, all housed within a single antenna.
Okay. And it's a big time for CommScope. I think you've recently had your 40th anniversary and you've unveiled details of what you see as the 40 top innovations. I mean, can you talk a bit about that and which ones you would consider to be the most important for network operators and service providers?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess we do have a very strong legacy in the RF arena, and there are many innovations that we've had over those 40 years. But I'd say the two that I find particularly pertinent today would be, firstly, on the macro antenna side. Antennas are becoming a lot more complicated than they used to be, and now a 10, 12 port antenna is a fairly regular occurrence. And being able to compact that into a single tight footprint is more important than ever. So I think our recent antenna innovations are particularly useful. But also on the indoor side, bearing in mind over 80% of data traffic is generated indoors, the indoor space is becoming more and more important. And I think our one cell offering, whereby we can recycle bandwidth far more efficiently than you would with a traditional DAS or with a traditional macro inside approach, means that the operators now have far more capability and flexibility in terms of solving that indoor LTE data challenge.
Okay. And I guess one of the other big trends we're seeing in the industry at the moment is a move towards greater convergence. I mean, that sounds like an area that CommScope wants to play in more as we see fixed and mobile technologies converging. So can you talk a bit about what you're doing in that space and what kind of challenges there are?
For sure. I mean, there is absolutely convergence happening these days in as much as the operators have stopped talking about it, and we find that they're actually planning converged networks. And I guess timing-wise, we're lucky in that we acquired the connectivity business from TE last year, which gives us a very strong fibre play. And what we're finding now is that as we talk to the wireline side of the opcos about their FTTX rollouts, which are obviously fibre heavy, we can also combine that with the small cell requirement and the densification I mentioned earlier on, whereby you can both satisfy the FTTH demand to the neighbourhood, to the home or to the small business, and at the same time provide ready-made access points for small cells to densify the wireless network as and where you need to.
Yeah, and that sounds like a real opportunity in the future as we see more small cells being rolled out, that those kind of fibre backhaul networks will be needed.
Very much so, the fibre backhaul for the small cell, and also I would say we've seen an uptick in the pure fibre space for FTTX, whereas it began fairly slowly in Europe with the likes of Telefonica in Spain or Orange in France. We're now seeing a lot more interest in pure fibre for the wireline marketplace.
Okay, I mean that brings us on, you mentioned Spain, where we are obviously now, and we're in the European region. So what are the big kind of trends that you see in this particular European market going forwards, and what kind of opportunities does that open up for CommScope?
Well, as I alluded to before, the indoor space is it's satisfied in terms of major venues. If you look at most of the stadiums, most of the airports, train stations and so on, they're pretty well covered with either full-scale DAS or something of that ilk. But that still leaves, I would guesstimate, over 90% of indoor space inadequately covered in the context of LTE and 4G, 4.9G, 5G. And so I think that what we're seeing now is much stronger interest in satisfying the indoor need, and that's everything from the small femtocell requirement you might need in somebody's house, but through to the corporate side of things, which we feel we've got a very strong offering, both from a technological point of view, in terms of our one cell offering and our I&E offering, but also in terms of the route to market, which the operators may struggle with in terms of being able to implement the indoor physical connectivity. And because of the enterprise side of our business, we have a long legacy with distribution partners and installers. So we feel we can bring the two together, both from a physical layer, if you like, but also a more active layer, and make the two happen.
Okay. So maybe just on a final note, I mean, you mentioned 5G there. There's obviously a lot of talk about 5G at Mobile World Congress as ever. How do you think that's going to change things? I mean, that has a big impact on the sort of small cell story, doesn't it? I think with higher frequencies being used.
Yeah, very much so. And I think there's no question that this densification trend will continue. And what we currently as simply more macro sites, that will morph into more and more discrete sites that we may not even have thought of yet, whether it's bus shelters, side of retail sites or whatever, and therefore smaller, more integrated devices. But I think also the applications for 5G, we're still trying to figure out quite what it will do for us, because 4G, 4.5G, 4.9G can achieve an awful lot within itself before you even get to 5G. So it's been a really interesting show for me to conceptualize what might 5G be, such as wearing virtual reality goggles, watching Spurs play at Wembley Stadium and feel like you're really in the stadium. So some really good things ahead.
Yeah, lots of exciting innovations I think that we'll hear more about next year as well. So, okay, thank you, Phil. Thanks for joining me today.
Yes,